This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You are watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Now, everywhere we look in the comment sections on videos and what have you, they all have the same kind of recurring theme, right? And again, excuse my voice if I sound like Kermit the Frog or Zed from Police Academy. I do apologise, but we'll try and get through this. Okay, so when it comes down to Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, and Deontay Wilder, they all have a very, very similar theme amongst the fans, which is, why is it that Tyson Fury doesn't accept 40%? Why is it that Deontay Wilder doesn't accept 40%? Why is it that Deontay Wilder didn't accept a huge flat fee, which was 8 times more money than he's ever made in his career? Why is it that Anthony Joshua isn't going to give these guys 50-50? All these kind of questions, okay? And listen, I suppose at the end of the day, I think we can all agree, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of none of our business, right? But it's a talking point, and we know that split money is what either makes a fight or breaks a fight. And what everybody has in common is people will ride with their guy. It doesn't matter whether or not you support Wilder, whether you support Joshua, whether you support Tyson Fury. It's a case of your opinion on your guy is the right one. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. If everybody had the same opinion, it would be very boring, wouldn't it? Now, one thing that people don't talk about enough, I think, is the fact that there's egos at play. Ego is what drives these people in the ring. It's what drives these people training. And it's also what drives them to fight each other. And no, I'm not talking about ego as in the guy who takes super chats and then blocks you and does stupid ass videos. Okay, I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the ego of nobody wants to be the B-side. They see it as, well, if I accept 40% against Anthony Joshua, then that means I'm less of a man than what Joshua is. Even though in the reality, that's not the case. It's about profile. It's about who brings eyes, who brings money, who puts bums on seats, who is it that drives the pay-per-view. That's all it is. But fighters do seem to forget that. And by taking 40% against Anthony Joshua, even though 40% is a phenomenal offer, I mean, if the fight was to generate, I'm talking Joshua versus Wilder, Joshua versus Fury, if the fight was to generate, say, 100 million, as some people say 200-300 million, as I said before, that's reaching. But even if it did a ballpark figure of 100 million, then Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder are turning down 40 million. These guys ain't going to make 40 million fighting each other now, are they? That's one thing to look at. Again, Frank Warren, he's saying 50-50 for him and, or his guy, Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Why? Again, because for Frank Warren, it's about, I don't want to be seen as having the lesser guy than what Eddie Hearn has. But again, it's not even about that. In reality, it's not. But this is what's holding them up. It's not necessarily the money. Now, you see, Wilder, he wants profile, he wants love, he wants adoration, he wants what Anthony Joshua's got. But here's the thing, is that Joshua, when he took on all these guys, okay, if you look at the heavyweight division right now, who is it that Joshua hasn't fought that will get you excited? And you can only really point to, obviously, a Dillian Whyte rematch, but we can't include that one because, obviously, these guys have fought before. If you look at Jarrell Miller, he's an undefeated heavyweight from America. People overlook the fact that he is. People overlook the fact that Wilder has not cleaned up, even domestically, in America. Joshua's done this for him. He's defeated Charles Martin. He's defeated Dominic Breazeale. And if he fights Jarrell Miller next, that's another one that Wilder doesn't have to do himself. So, when it comes down to it, it's all about ego. That's exactly what it is. So, if you look at it, as I was about to say there, outside of Wilder and Fury, who is it that Joshua can really fight that he hasn't fought before? And the pool is very, very thin because Joshua's already fought them. That's a pretty obvious statement, isn't it? And again, it's something that people don't think about. Where people say, well, Joshua, he should fight Wilder, he should fight Fury. But he can't fight them if they're unwilling to get in the ring with him. And if one of the reasons is that they're unwilling to get in the ring with him financially, because they don't want to be the B-side. Nobody wants to be the B-side. They don't like Joshua. Like Shelley Finkel, he doesn't want his client Wilder getting in there because he doesn't like Eddie Hearn. He has a personal dislike of Eddie Hearn. which is not a good business move, is it? When you allow personal feelings to get in the way of business decisions, then it's a disaster for business, isn't it? Because then you're thinking with your heart rather than your head. So Wilder, he doesn't want to be seen as lesser of a guy than Joshua. But in reality, he is. Now, I'm not talking about if these guys get in the ring as to who wins. Listen, we know Joshua whoops him badly. Okay, we know that. Charles Martin 2.0 all over again. Okay, but the reality is that Wilder doesn't want to concede to Joshua. But again, the reality is also that Joshua beat Charles Martin to become champion. Joshua beat Vladimir Klitschko to be unified champion. Joshua beat Joseph Parker to extend his unifications. So he's got 3 of the main 4 belts. Okay? There is no reason in the world why Wilder couldn't have took on even one of those 3 opponents. Had he have done that, then he would have 2 belts. He'd be unified champion. And then there'll be no discussion about 50-50. All he had to do was fight Charles Martin, a guy who's PBC with him, with Al Heyman. It's an easy fight to make, but they didn't do it. He could have fought Vladimir Klitschko. Shelley Finkel manages Wilder and Vladimir Klitschko. That fight could have happened. Joseph Parker went to his fight with Gerald Washington, and then Wilder come out and offered him a stupid amount of money. Was it $2 million or something like that? $3 million? I don't even know how much it is. But it was a lowball offer according to Joseph Parker's team. So Wilder had the opportunity but didn't capitalise on it. Maybe not him directly, but his team as a whole. Whether that be Al Heyman, the PBC, Shelley Finkel, Lou DiBella maybe, I don't know. But somebody somewhere didn't have stock in Wilder, and as a consequence of that, Joshua belt collected. And people say that Tyson Fury is the true champion because he never lost his belts in the ring. Again, that's his own fault. From his own words, from Tyson Fury's own mouth. He lost those belts due to his stupidity. These are his own words. Don't blame anybody else. Don't feel sorry for me. I did this to myself. Including the weight, the drugs, the alcohol, all that kind of thing. Of course, he can't blame himself for anxiety and depression. Of course not. But when he had the belts against after he defeated Vladimir Klitschko, he was supposed to have a rematch. Again, people don't talk about it enough. But why was there a rematch? Tyson Fury was the mandatory, was the WBO mandatory, right? When you're mandatory, you don't have to accept a rematch. You don't have to, but he did. Between him and Mick Hennessy and Peter Fury, whoever it may be, I don't know, maybe Frank Warren had a hand in that as well. I don't know, but they accepted a rematch. And as a consequence, he couldn't defend his mandatory at that time, the IBF, against Glasgow. So he got that belt stripped. He could have put in for an exemption, but he didn't. So that was his fault, or his team's fault, about the IBF. So Glasgow fought for the vacant belt against Charles Martin. Charles Martin won. So people say that, Joshua shouldn't go after these belts. Is that what you're saying? That Joshua should go, whoa, hang on a minute. Let's wait for Tyson Fury to come back, get all those belts, and then I'll fight him? Is that what Joshua's supposed to do? Of course not. That would be a very naive, very stupid thing to say. So for people to say that Anthony Joshua is a paper champion, again with the WBA and the WBO, Tyson Fury vacated them because he was about to be stripped of them, because he wasn't fighting. He went off the rails due to his own doing. So Joseph Parker won a vacant belt for the WBO against Andy Ruiz Jr. The WBA was still vacant, but Vladimir Klitschko was entitled to a rematch. Him versus Luis Ortiz is what should have happened. But the WBA sanctioned unification. Unification takes precedence. Hence the reason Anthony Joshua come along. So should Joshua not have gone for any of those belts? Should Joseph Parker not have fought for that belt? Should Vladimir Klitschko not have had the right to fight for the WBA? Charles Martin, no. I mean, it's a very, very broad-minded, narrow-minded even, thing for people to say that Joshua is paper champion. Joshua defeated Charles Martin. He had every right to do so. Deontay Wilder could have done that, but he didn't. He then unified against Vladimir Klitschko. Again, Wilder could have done that. He then unified again against Joseph Parker. Again, Wilder could have done that. Tyson Fury could have avoided all this too. So to call Anthony Joshua a paper champion is ridiculous. Again, the reality is that Tyson Fury was the man who defeated the man. Okay, he did defeat Vladimir Klitschko. He's the one who got those belts and spread them out like confetti. Not because he wanted to, because the rematch should have happened, right? Well, technically it shouldn't have happened because he shouldn't have had a rematch clause. But that's nobody's fault but Tyson's fault as to why that rematch didn't happen. But as a subsequence or consequence of all this, Joshua belt collected one by one. He defeated 3 champions to get those 3 belts, plus the addition of the IBO as well. And he's had 3 mandatories. Sorry, 2 mandatories. I lie. I was thinking Brazil was a mandatory, but he wasn't. He's mandatory for Wilder currently. But his mandatory, Carlos Takam, was originally supposed to be Pulev. And then, of course, Alexander Povetkin. So Joshua's had the titles far longer than what Wilder has. Wilder's been champion of the WBC for 4 years. He's only had 1 mandatory and never unified. And then people say that he deserves 50-50. He doesn't. But in his mind, he knows that he doesn't deserve 50-50. He knows it. He's not stupid. He's a little bit crazy at times. But he's not stupid, I don't think. But he doesn't want to be looked on as a lesser of a man than Anthony Joshua. Even though this whole state of affairs could have been avoided, all Wilder had to do was fight one of those 3 guys. Martin, Klitschko, Parker. And he'd be a unified champion. Had he have beaten any of them? As I said, Martin, PBC fighter, easy fight to make. Klitschko, easy fight to make, both managed by Shelley Finkel. So it's his own doing. But because of all that, where Joshua had to not only get those 3 belts by defeating 3 people, including the same guy that Tyson Fury defeated. But people say Tyson Fury's the champion. No, he's not the champion. He never lost his belts in the ring because he never fought. He never defended them. Now, I'm not saying that had he not have had all those problems, that he would not have beaten Klitschko in a rematch. We don't know because we didn't see it. We don't know if Tyson Fury would have carried on defending those belts and would still be unified champion. Maybe undisputed. Who knows? We don't know. This could have happened. But equally, it could have also been that he would have ran into Joshua because Joshua was heading towards mandatory for the IBF. So Joshua against Tyson Fury would have been mandated at some point and this fight would have already happened. Who would have won? Again, we don't know. We don't know. So ego is playing a part in all this. Tyson Fury does not want to be seen as a B-side to Anthony Joshua. Wilder does not want to be seen as a B-side to Anthony Joshua. When both of these guys could have had the opportunity to have been the A-side. Tyson Fury certainly had it in his hands. Wilder had it in his hands, but decided not to do it. Joshua jumped on the bull. He grabbed it by the horns, and he did what he had to do. And he took risky fights very early on in his career. And again, Anthony Joshua has ego, because he doesn't want to give them 50-50. He wants to be a clear A-side. Does Joshua need that extra 10%? Does he not have enough money? Of course he has enough money. But as I said, it's ego playing a part. Eddie Hearn also has ego. He wants his man to be the A-side. And rightfully so, Joshua is A-side. Doesn't matter how you look at it. It doesn't matter whether you like Joshua or not. He needs commending for what it is that he's done. When there's plenty of other fighters out there who could have done the same. But didn't. So all of it is all down to ego. As I said, not necessarily money. All 3 of these guys already have money in the bank. When money shouldn't even be a problem. But again, it's very easy for me, for you, to look on these guys and say, you should just accept this and you should just accept that. When it's not our money. And again, it's not our ego, is it? Anyway, I thought I'd talk about it, as I've never seen anybody else talk about it. I mean, maybe somebody has, I don't know. But that's my thoughts on it all. Of course, drop yours in the comment section below. Click the thumbs up to this video and, of course, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.